for anyone who becomes minister here in Monterey, you have to be multitasking. Technical issues and everything else aside, we're back on track, and I think Jane will check. Okay, it's going good. Good. So anyway, I was mentioning our altar items had returned last week, and they came and put everything back together. This large front table here has been fully restored with new gold leaf and paints and everything else. The hanging lanterns on either side have been redone at special coating. The smaller two tables on either side where Shinran and menu are have been redone, and the scrolls themselves have been refurbished. And then we have a brand new, we call it Oshokudai or Korodai, which is the table that holds the main incense burning here. So it's a brand new table. So all in celebration of our 75th coming up next month. So today is ohigan, and it's also our September and October shotsuki hoyo. So we'll begin with the opening reading by Minister's Assistant David Korea.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Please join me in Gashel. We shall take refuge in these great teachers, whose ultimate concern is the enlightenment of all beings. May they bestow their enlightening power on all of us. We shall receive the Buddha's great mind of compassion and never falter in our efforts. May the Buddha guide us always in our humble efforts. In each thought, we shall be mindful of the Buddha. Namo Midabutsu. Namo Midabutsu. Namo Midabutsu. Namo Midabutsu.
Thank you, David. Now we'll have the sutra chanting. First, the Sambujo, which you'll find on page 23 of the large book of service book. And then I'll read a dedication verse called the Shobyakumon, and then we'll chant the Sambutsuye, which will be on page 78 of the large book of service book. So page 23 and then 78. 界の恩徳シャーシテモシャーシが滝は修行の恩徳なりしかればすなわち現象には仏祖の本来で放射の大道を歩み将来には往生障害とを遂げて涅槃の8日を昇仙ここに本日マントレイ仏教会お彼岸法要と9月と10月のshotsuki法要会期にあたり愛の人々は集まりうやうやしぐ仏船を証言し年頃に商業訪れて広大な仏壇を写し祭らん敬ってもす。Today on this occasion of the Monterey Peninsula Buddhist Temple Fall Equinox service and September and October shotsuki Hoyo, the Sangha has reverently come before me, the Buddha, with deepest reverence and thankfulness, the all-embracing wisdom and compassion of the Buddha. We reaffirm the three homages. I go to the Buddha for guidance, I go to the Dharma for guidance, I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Tia Boots, Namo Tia Ho, Namo Tia Soul, Namo Mantra. Murya Thank you. Now I'm going to read the names of families observing a memorial in the month of September, followed by those who are observing in October. For Tanosuke Esaki, Mr. John Esaki and Amy Kato. For Toshio Sasaki, the Komatsu family. For Seki Saburo Hattori, Mr. and Mrs. Rick and Ellie Hattori. For Junichi Oda, Mr. and Mrs. Larry and Ann Oda. For Saigoro Hashimoto, Mrs. Fumi Kawasaki. For Kiyoteru Minoguchi, Mrs. Hanae Shiramoto. For Hisaburo Baba, Mrs. Mio Saiki. For Yutaka Shimizu, the Shimizu family. For Abel Akira Yokota, Dr. Eric Yokota. For Kuni Ota, Mr. Michael Omoto. For Masako Murakami, Mr. and Mrs. Toru Kinoshita. For Mitsuko Ono, the Ono family. For Masako Nishishita and Hanemon Imai, Mrs. Fumiko Imai. For Toshio George Takigawa, Mr. Gene Takigawa. For Shigemi Sakai, Mrs. Tokie Sakai. For Shizuyo Mamie Honda, Ms. Lisa Honda. For Tadao Yamaguchi, the Yamaguchi family. For Tase Nakao, Mr. Robert Nakao and Judy Kuwatani. For Sakai Fujimoto, the Fujimoto family and Ms. Nancy Nakazawa. For Eiko Yaguchi, Harley Hikahara. For Hidoichi Hamasaki, Mr. Kurt Kodama. For Bill Shoichi Ito, Ms. Beverly Ito. For Am Masatoshi Omura, the Omura family. For Toshiyuki George Sakai, the Sakai family. For Nick Trassel, Ms. June Aoki Trassel. Patricia Ann Snow, Ms. Tani Snow. For Mr. Yoshio Randy Sato, Mrs. Margaret Sato. For Inez Iku Izumi, Mr. Lee Austin, and Mrs. Aida Akimoto. For Karen Tsuchitani, Ms. Doris Tsuchitani. And for the month of October, for Nobuya Oda, Mrs. Roberta Tabata Jo. For Yuki Hashimoto, Mrs. Sumi Kawasaki. For Entaro Morikawa, Mr. and Mrs. Ray and Ann Alamars. For Haruyo Takahashi, the Takahashi family. For Archie Y. Miyamoto, Ms. Janet Mariyama. For Seizo Morishita, the Morishita family. For Yaino Sumida, Mrs. Sumiya Mariyama. For Carol Kuniko Hatano, Mr. and Mrs. Tom Hatano. For Fusai Yoshiyama and Miyoko Kitagawa, Mr. and Mrs. Andy Yoshiyama. For Yasujiro Ono, the Nishimura family. For Sam Senichi Yokota, Dr. Eric Yokota. For Noboru Ueda, Mrs. Atsumi Ueda. For Lorraine Maki Oda, Mr. and Mrs. Larry Oda. For Kikuse Yamashita, Ms. Miyako Yoshida. For Soeno Fujimoto, Ms. Nancy Nakazawa. For Emi Kuwatani, Mr. and Mrs. Ken Kuwatani. For Agnes Y. Tsukimura, Mr. Jerry Tsukimura. For Teru Terry Haruki, Ms. Joyce Haruki. For Ruby Yoshiko Hori, Mrs. Lisa Hori, and Mrs. Suzanne Schneck. For Otis Kadani, Ms. Linda Kadani. For Yuki Sumida, Mr. Jeff Sumida. For Henry Minoru Ono, Mr. and Mrs. Alan Okimoto. For Tsugino Hamasaki, Mr. Kurt Kodama. For Nobuyoshi Sakurai, the Sakurai family. For Chie Okamoto Jackson, the Okamoto Jackson family. For Junko Odamo, the Odamo family. For Hitoshi Kono, Ms. Kim Kono, and Mr. Mark Kono. For Betty Yoshiko Kinoshita Oda, Mr. and Mrs. Katsumi and Atsuko Kinoshita. And if there's anyone else here who's observing a memorial in the month of October, you're welcome to come forward and join incense at this time. And if I could have Linda, if you wouldn't mind doing a shofar for the families who could not be here today. Thank you very much. If you please rise and join me in the Gatha Namo Amida Butsu on page 174. And I apologize in advance, our music is on the blitz, so you'll have to bear with me. When life is fair and sunlight gilds the day, when fortune smiles and flowers adorn our way, oft let us pause with grateful hearts to say, Namo Amida Butsu. Even though our way leads neath the darkened sky, and to our loved ones pain and death draw nigh, our tears may flow, yet trustingly we cry, Namo Amida Butsu. Not too bad. Please turn to page 10 and join David in the reading of the Threefold Refuge.
I have to say that sounded really awesome, by the way. Please join me, guys, for Threefold Refuge. Difficult is it to receive a human form, and now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the Dharma of the Buddha, and now we hear it. We do not cross over to the truth in the present life, and what life shall we cross over? Thus with sincerity and true reverence take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in the Buddha. May we, together with all sentient beings, awaken to the great way of enlightenment and to the unsurpassed intent of the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. May we, together with all sentient beings, enter the storehouse of the Dharma, becoming like the wisdom ocean. I take refuge in the Sangha. May we, together with all sentient beings, become units in true accord, in harmony with all things. The peerless, profound, and wondrous Dharma is rare to encounter, even in many hundreds and thousands of kalpas. Now we are privileged to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Bhagavata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated. And now here's our Risha Seki with this morning's Dharma talk.
Thank you, David. First, I'm going to just take a moment to speak to our Dharma youth who are here today. And once I'm finished talking to them, then they are going to be excused to the Dharma school classroom. Today is ohigan, and you probably have heard this in your young age maybe 10 times. And ohigan is the fall equinox. This is when nature is in harmony. And ohigan is really a time for us to think about not what we don't have, but what we do have, and what we've been able to receive. So one is your very life that you're living, the birth that you've been given, is a direct result of hundreds and thousands of causes and conditions that make your birth possible. So David read this Threefold Refuge that we read every week. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. So that first line is really what I want to talk about, because we are so fortunate to be able to live this life. And then on top of that, to be able to hear this teachings that we call Buddhism is even rarer. So the Buddha talked about how rare it is to be born in this world. He used the analogy of the turtle swimming in this vast ocean, and this huge sea turtle every 100 years pops his head up out from the ocean and takes a breath and then dives back down. Another 100 years goes by, he comes up, takes a breath and goes back down. Now one of these times that he comes up, there happens to be a small ring about this big floating in the middle of this vast ocean. And that turtle comes up and he puts his head right through that ring. So what are the odds of that happening? Can anybody guess? It's like millions, billions to one, right? That would happen. It's almost as the chances of you hitting the lottery. It's just phenomenally difficult. But that's what the Buddha talked about our birth and how rare and wonderful it is. So we're so fortunate to be where we are with the families that we have, with the friends that we have, with our homes, with our schools. This is what the Buddha wanted us to think about on a day like today, to feel a deep sense of gratitude for what we have. And not so much about what we don't have, but what we do have. We can all think about things we want, things that we desire, things that we wish we could have. But we need to take a moment to reflect on what we do have, what we have received. So, one last little comment I want to make is that Buddhism is about understanding and appreciating what we have, not wishing what we don't have. So when you come to the temple and you put your hands together at Gassho and you recite Namo Amida Butsu, you're not asking for anything. You're expressing gratitude for what you received. You're not praying for anything. You're only appreciating what you have. So some of you are getting to the age where you're going to be driving, which is for your parents maybe a scary thought, but you're going to be driving pretty soon. So maybe you get a new car, or maybe a used car. Right? When you get that car, think about how much has gone into that car and what you received. And remember that you can come to me and you can say, Reverend Shinseki, I want you to do a blessing for my new car. And I'd be glad to do it. Okay? But it's not a blessing. It's going to be a reminder of what you have. So as you drive, of course, be very mindful of what you're doing. But at some point, that car changes too. And so there was a story about a guy I just read. He went to his priest and asked him to bless the car. So the priest blessed the car. And the guy was very happy. He went on his way. He came back 2 weeks later and said, my car got stolen. I thought you'd bless my car. And the priest said, well, I did a blessing against accidents, not against being stolen. You should have told me to do that one. But the point of the story is also that, the world will keep moving. Things will happen. Things age, things change. You have gain, you have loss. All of that is part of life and the world moving as it is. So our religion is not about asking for things or praying for things. It's about appreciating things that you have. Okay? That's my short message to the Dharma School students. So if you students want to come up and I'll show cool, and then you can go to the classroom. Is that, Michelle, is that okay? Yeah. We'll just give them a minute. All the time these kids have gotten so heavy. the rest of us who are here, I'd like to just continue my talk for a few more minutes. Along that same idea, not to think about today's a day to think about what we have received, and not so much what we want or what it's like. So today we're observing September and October Memorial Service, and one of the reasons we're doing October today is because next month, as I mentioned earlier, is the 75th anniversary of our temple. And so we're doing a special service on October 8th. I hope to see all of you there because it's going to be really a special service. The bishop will be here. There'll be about 6 ministers here to help us celebrate the 75th anniversary, followed by a wonderful luncheon. But because we're doing that, we combine September and October today. And I was reflecting on this in English. When we talk about like my parents or our grandparents who passed away, we use English words like I've lost my mom, I lost my dad, I lost my brother, that sort of terminology. And I was thinking about this and how we really haven't lost them. In a real sense, they are still with us in so many ways. So much of our lives is connected to them that we can't lose them. They're still part of us. So in Japanese, they use terms like kaeru, which means to return. So those who passed away, they return home to what the Buddha calls the home of homes with Amida Buddha. So they return from where they originated from. So they're not lost. They are home in a place where if we can accept this, they are settled and they are fine. We are the ones that have the anxiety over what happened to my mom, what happened to my dad, what happened to my brother, where did they go? We have that anxiety. They are settled and they are fine. So if we think about what we have, not what we want, we have so many wonderful memories. We have so many experiences with our loved ones. Even if they were here for a short time, those memories and those experiences are what we have, and they're always going to be a part of us. So I was going to mention this to the Dharma students, but I was reflecting back on growing up in Mountain View. My dad was a gardener. My mother was a housekeeper. She cleaned houses for people. And there were 6 kids in our family. So I'm the second son, and then I have a younger sister right below me, and I have 3 younger brothers. So there were 6 of us, and there's many years between us. But my parents had a small house in Mountain View. It was 2 bedrooms. So can you imagine 1 bathroom, 2 bedrooms with 6 kids plus mom and dad? Can you imagine what that was like? I'm sure some of you can because you lived through this too. Having a big family with just a tiny little house. But somehow my parents made it work. My dad took the garage and converted it into 2 small bedrooms. But somehow they made it work. And today I think about what I have in terms of home and family and how fortunate I am. And I've forgotten to appreciate the things that I have. But when I reflect back on those years growing up in Mountain View, it reminds me of, I didn't think about what I didn't have back then. I just lived my life, and I don't know if I appreciated it, but I lived my life. I didn't think about what I don't have. But the older we get, sometimes we start thinking about what I want, what I should have, what I deserve, not what we have. So this is a time for us to think about that, about what we have. And so a few weeks ago, maybe it was 3 weeks ago, my wife and I, we went to Las Vegas. And I know some people will say, "You're a Buddhist priest, what are you doing in Las Vegas?" Well, I'm trying to make money. What do you think I'm doing? No, neither of us are real gamblers, but, I found myself playing the dice, the craps. And after $100 was gone, I'm thinking, I have to get it back. I want it back. That was hard-earned money. I want it back. So I keep going, right? And it keeps going away. It keeps going away. That's not coming back. Maybe I'm just a lousy gambler. I don't know. But it was chasing after something that I had lost, trying to get it back. And I think that's what we sometimes do. But it becomes clear to me when I reflect back on those moments of chasing after things and trying to hold on to things, that our lives give us something that we've all had all the time. And that is, the wisdom and the compassion of the Buddha. The Dharma has been given to us. This is one of the greatest gifts that we can ever receive, is the teachings of the Buddha. And the goal of Buddhism is to become enlightened, right? Is to become a Buddha, which is a way of saying to become true and real, the true and real self. True and real self. The problem is, not many of us can see that true and real self, because we're always looking this way. We're not looking this way. We're not looking inward. The other day at dinner, my wife says to me, well, she didn't say anything to me. She goes like this. So I thought, oh, I got something on my face. So I'm going like this. She goes, no, no. So I'm going over here like this. And there was, I don't know, there was a piece of food hanging off my lip, I guess. And the problem, that's an example of how we can't see the self clearly. We need other people to help us see the self and see that we're, foolishly got stuff hanging on our face or whatever it may be. So we need the help of others. And it's difficult to see the self because of this, what we call bonno in Buddhism. Bonno is the foolish self that only sees what it wants to see. So when we describe ourselves to people, when we think of ourselves, we think of the very best part of ourselves. Not the bad, worst part of ourselves, but the very best part. And that's how we describe ourselves. Or that's how we hope people will see us. That's called bonno, this only wanting to show this foolish, we don't want to show the foolish side of ourselves. And that's why we get embarrassed sometimes. But luckily for us, there is this great compassion of the Buddha that's always being extended towards us. And it's not only on Sundays. It's not only at times of difficulty. It's not only at times when we lose someone. It's all the time. It's relentless. So I use this example of when you're working in the garage or something, or you're doing something in the kitchen, and you cut your finger. When you cut your finger, if you cut your left finger, for example, your right hand immediately comes and grabs it. And it's instinctual. It's not contrived. Your right hand just automatically grabs onto your left hand to hold it as it's bleeding. This is an example of what the Buddha's great compassion is. It's not something that is contrived. It's constant, and it's a great compassion that embraces us, holds us. And when we're hurt, when we are suffering, when we're in anxiety, when we're not sure about, when we think about our ancestors, our families, and where they are, what they're doing, the compassion of Amida embraces us right at that moment. And that's the beauty of the wonder, and we're so fortunate that we have that great compassion extended towards us all the time. So, ohigan is a time to contemplate our lives and what we have received. And it's our family members, my parents, my brother, who are not lost, but have returned home to Amida Buddha, that give us this moment to reflect on our lives, what we received. And again, not what we want, but what we have that's so precious. So We've been given so much, we're so lucky, so fortunate. And that's what Nam Amidavutsu is. It's a direct response to that deep sense of gratitude for what we receive. Thank you very much. Please join me in that show. Though we lack both disciplinary practices and wisdom, we can cross over the painful sea of birth and death by boarding the ship of Amida's vow. Upon crossing over the shore of the recompensed land, the dark clouds of evil passion will be instantly cleared away, and the enlightened moon of Dharma will appear. Then we shall become one with the light unhindered in the 10 quarters, and shall benefit all sentient beings. Then and only then can we say that we are enlightened. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. I'd like to invite David up to share with us the reading from the Shonin Public Devotion.
Shinran Shonin taught that the essence of Jodo Shinshu is Shinjin. The reason is that by abandoning all other practices and completely entrusting ourselves in the Mida Buddha, our spiritual rebirth is assured by Mida through the inconceivable power of the primal vow. This is known as entering the ranks of the truly assured in the very moment of Shinjin. Thereafter, all utterances of the Nembutsu should be understood only as expression of gratitude for Mida's assurance of our spiritual rebirth. With reverence I remain. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, David. Before we close, I want to make just one quick announcement, or two announcements. Next Sunday, September 25th, I will be in Salinas for their ohigan and shotsuki service. There will be no in-person service here, but it will be live streamed on our Tri-Temple YouTube site, and so that's next week. And then, as I mentioned earlier, October 8th is the 75th anniversary. It begins at 10 o'clock, and I hope all of you will support this effort made by the temple to celebrate the 75th. If you have any questions, you can talk to Linda. Linda, you want to? Yeah, you can register, or you can make an appointment with her to attend the 75th. Okay. And now, one last time, I'd like to ask you to rise and join me in the Gatha Ondok-san 2 on page 220.
Please join me in Gasho. We are foolish beings who have wandered in delusion from time immemorial. Now in this decadent age, hundreds of years after Buddha's nirvana. How fortunate we are to meet Amita's primal vow that leads us straight to peace and bliss. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, thank you, David. This will conclude our services today. I appreciate your attendance and it's great to see everyone. If you haven't had a chance to, or you're welcome to Oshoku again to conclude today's service. Thank you.